Movies with Ron.
Hell yeah, motherfucker.
Movies with Ron.
Can I pitch a movie to you guys?
Yeah, man.
It's called We're Getting Better.
Okay.
So picture like a country over there, lots of civil war like Bosnia. Bunch of strife. A guy grows up there, becomes totally desensitized to the violence, but in all respects, he's still like an innocent character. And then he grows up, growing up through all that. He's traveling around, and movie producers are nearby, and they're scouting locations, right? And he meets them. He somehow gets riding a motorcycle or something. I don't know. They're like, we're looking for a cool stunt coordinator. And he's been through all this warfare, but they're making this action movie about zombies. It's got this action woman in it.
Yeah.
She's kicking ass, but she's a little older. And they do their first stunt. And this Bosnian guy is like, hey, not knowing what he's doing. He just like fell into this role. And a dude gets crushed by a Hummer.
Uh-huh.
And everyone's like, oh my God. Like, holy shit, everyone stop everything. But the stunt coordinator, this foreign guy who's like really innocent, but he's like, yeah, we got it. It doesn't affect him.
Yeah.
But we still follow him around, and then the action woman like starts to like him because everyone gets depressed, but him.
Right.
After that, because the person dies, and even like the director like quits.
Uh-huh.
So stunt coordinator starts like fucking the action actress, and like they become a thing.
Uh-huh.
And then he becomes the new director of the movie, right?
Right.
But all the while, there's like the safety guy, the head of safety, which every big movie set has, and it's like Elijah Wood or something like that. And he's like, going fucking crazy! Someone just died! And like, he makes him the stunt coordinator. He's like, just make sure it's safe,
Yeah.
So he becomes the stunt coordinator. And so the movie goes on. They're filming movies. It's kind of a dark comedy, I guess. And they do the motorcycle stunt, and the stunt woman gets in a big accident, has to have her arm amputated, has a partially degloved face, and all the while Elijah Wood is like, oh my God, I can't, it's all my fault, I did this. But the director, the guy from Bosnia, is like, all right, we're getting better. And it's called We're Getting Better.
Yeah.
Yeah?
All right.
Think people would go see that?
Yes.
Last week we were talking about Sam Penny guns.
Yeah.
And from Terminator 2 when they're in the office building.
Right.
And then you go through the recap, and you have that thing where that woman gives Wesker the button that's going to blow everything up. Like, puts it in his hand as he's dying. Like, she wants Mila Jovovich to win, but she does this thing. I don't know why. Gives him the button that's going to blow everything up. But doesn't that remind you of that part from Terminator 2?
Yeah.
Where that dude has the button?
He's like, I don't know how much longer I can hold this. And then when he dies, he's like, hey, hey, hey. Boom.
Oh, man. That's all I could think about when that happened.
Yeah.
You're listening to Movies with Ron, the podcast where my older brother surprises me with a movie he saw because I don't go see him anymore. And he explains the whole thing to me from beginning to end. If you're listening right now, trust me, you'll like his versions better. It's okay if you've seen the movie. It's okay if you haven't seen it. The experience is unique, so just trust me. I'm Chris, your MC for the time being. Next to me is our sound guy, Rick.
Hey.
And next to him, grab your gear, folks. You're going to need it. It's Ron.
Hey, guys. How's everybody feeling tonight?
Grabbing my gear.
Hello, planet Earth. Welcome to Movies with Ron. What did you guys think of that last episode? Resident Evil, huh?
I love it.
It was like my favorite one ever.
I think it's legendary.
Yeah.
I was working on it at work. At my job, you get gaps, and I fill it in with some episode work.
Sure.
And my boss sees me.
Oh, shit.
He's not mad. There's nothing going on. I've got free time. He's like, what you working on there? And I was like, an audio file. And he's like, oh, really? You're not going to tell me what you're working on? I was like, all right, I have a weekly internet radio show. And he's like, what is a weekly internet radio show? And I'm like, do you know what a podcast is?
Uh-huh.
And he's like, oh, a podcast. And he explains what a podcast is, probably the best I've ever heard. He's like, so it's like Wayne's World, but there's no video.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is like a 70-year-old guy. He nailed it.
Yeah, he did.
Hey, so George Lucas,
Uh-huh.
when he was making episode 1,
The Phantom Menace.
yeah, he was shopping the script around. He had the script he wrote, and he went to Lawrence Kasdan, and he was like, hey, you want to give this a once-over?
Uh-huh.
Maybe polish it up? And Lawrence Kasdan,
Tell us who that is.
he's the guy who worked on all of the original Star Wars scripts.
Okay.
And Star Wars, story-wise, is George Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan. Like, you can admit that. George Lucas built up a reputation, and, like, by the time Episode 1 happened, everyone loved him. And even Lawrence Kasdan was like, man, this is your baby. I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know? Even though all those years they spent working on that original trilogy.
Right.
So George Lucas takes his script and goes to Steven Spielberg, and he's like, hey, you want to direct it?
Uh-huh.
And Steven Spielberg's like, oh, dude, this is your baby. This is episode 1. You got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone hates the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And he was trying to give it away.
Yeah, he was.
Seriously. Like,
Wow.
he knew his limitations. I don't know. I feel better about it now. I feel like,
He was like asking for help.
yeah.
And everybody's like, you suck, George.
No. But just after a while, by the time episode 1 was ready to be made, George Lucas had achieved like a godlike status.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what prevented him from making, that was his downfall.
From getting help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he made them, and everybody was like, you ruined it.
Yeah.
You know? Like, everybody's throwing fucking tomatoes at him and everything.
So by the time The Force Awakens came around, you know who wrote it?
Lawrence Kasdan.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has their criticisms, but that's still, like, a lot better than the other
Oh,
three.
yeah, man. Oh, yeah.
Hey, there's also a situation going around with Arnold Schwarzenegger
You have my attention.
being in that new Terminator. That one, everyone hates it. And it, like, didn't make a profit.
I didn't hate it.
I loved Terminator Genesis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun return.
Yes.
And now Arnold Schwarzenegger is having a hard time, like, finding work. Like,
I know.
He's doing, like, other kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Because his return to acting after being governor of California,
Uh-huh.
to me, all it is Terminator Genesis for me.
Yeah.
That's all I want to see.
Well, there's a new Conan coming out.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, is Conan is having trouble.
Oh.
And that's why. Because nobody goes to see Arnold Schwarzenegger anymore.
I do.
I mean, everyone loves him, everyone remembers him, but, like, he acts in a movie, that movie comes out, no one goes to see it.
Damn, dude. So what's going on with Conan? I was excited as hell when I heard about that.
I don't know, it hasn't been, like, greenlit.
What?
It's been worked on, but that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm reading about. Because even Schwarzenegger is in this new movie where his family dies in a plane crash, and he's hunting down the air traffic controller who's responsible.
Okay.
And it's like a drama.
Oh.
So he's like a Midwestern man, older man, whose wife and daughter die, and they put him in these like Western-style button-up shirts.
Yeah.
Because it, like, suits his big physique.
Yeah.
But he just looks ridiculous because he speaks and he's German. And it's like, what's going on here?
I don't care. I have never cared.
But it's about him, like, big close-ups, and he's like, I just want him to apologize.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's like this small movie. Like, that's what Schwarzenegger is. That's what he's headlining. You know?
Yeah.
Conan might not happen. Like, he might be done.
Man, when he was doing Terminator, he was like, yeah, you know, I'm going to be doing another Conan. We're talking about Twins 2. Remember that?
Yeah.
Where it turns out Eddie Murphy was the third brother.
Eddie,
Like in the sequel?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that could work.
It would totally work.
I've got that. I want that scene where
You're my brother.
they're on the plane and Schwarzenegger's singing,
Yeah.
take out the papers in the trash. Yeah.
Take out the papers and the trash.
Yakety yak. Don't talk back.
Yeah, but he's like doing that shit, and it's 2017, so there's like a air marshal who's like, "What's going on here?"
Yeah.
You know, and he's just listening to music, and he's like screaming out the lyrics, and he like ends up being detained
Yeah.
in post 9/11 Twins 2 America.
The hell is going on? Hey, man, what'd you do to him? I did nothing. The pavement was his enemy.
What is that from?
He like knocked some dude over.
In
And the
Twins?
guy, yeah, and the guy like got a concussion when he hit the ground. And his little criminal buddy was like accusing Arnold of hurting him.
I like nuked food.
That runs through my head every time I use a microwave.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta recommend a movie
Recommended.
from 1981. It's called Dragonslayer.
Yeah, baby.
Rick, do you remember this movie at all?
I was too young.
It's about this wizard's apprentice who becomes a hero. But if you, like, put him in a Lord of the Rings movie, he'd be a hobbit. Like, you could tell the inspiration was there.
Oh, okay.
He's just a little guy. Played by Peter McNichol.
Yeah, man. Janos.
Yeah. From Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, that actor is actually this was his first movie ever, and he is so embarrassed by it that he doesn't list it on movies that he's been in,
Yeah, I
like
heard
on his
that.
resume.
I'm also reading all these people going, I don't see why.
Yeah.
Like, people love this movie.
Oh, I love this movie.
This was a Disney effort into live action.
It was actually a joint effort between Disney and Paramount.
Right. But they all wanted this, like, happy fantasy movie.
Yeah,
And what they got?
full frontal nudity.
Oh, yeah. And this movie is dark.
Yeah, it
and
is.
It's frightening.
Uh-huh.
It's almost a scary movie.
Yeah.
Because it has the best dragon, like, you've ever seen.
Ever. Okay, like the guy who wrote the books that the Game of Thrones show is based on.
George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, he's like best dragon on film ever.
Totally.
Yeah, and he's like the creator of a show with dragons in it.
Yeah.
You know?
And you guessed it, Peter McNichol, the little wizard's apprentice, ends up having to, like, go up against this big giant dragon.
Uh-huh. And this dragon, you know, I just learned recently, that dragon had a name. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
That dragon's name in this movie, and they say it a few times. If you go back and rewatch it, you'll, like, understand it. Because the last time you saw it was when you were, like, 5.
Uh-huh.
You know? This dragon's name is Vermithrax Pejorative.
It's fucking weird.
That's fucking awesome.
Rick, what's scary about this movie is there's these scenes where these villagers will like, shackle up these young women.
Yeah, the virgins.
Yeah, and they're, like, stuck there by their wrists on these posts, and they're feeding the dragon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sacrificing.
Yeah. Just giving her to the dragon.
Through lottery.
Uh-huh. It's fucking scary. And, like, I don't know. I remember seeing these girls' wrists.
Oh, yeah.
Aren't they all cut up and bloody?
Yeah, because there's a one scene where this girl actually, like, manages to wiggle her damn hands out of it.
Yeah.
And she does that by, like, trying and trying until the meat on her wrists is, like, all bloody and slippery.
Yeah. This movie's hardcore.
Tell you what's really hardcore. Best thing about this movie. So, in the beginning of the film, there's the old sorcerer that they're going to slay the dragon. And then he's got his little apprentice, who is Peter McNichol.
Uh-huh.
And then he's got this old man, who's like his old man servant, named Hodge. Played by the one and only Sidney Bromley. Okay? And this guy steals the show in this movie every time he talks. He was in the Fearless Vampire Killers. He played the old guy with the telescope in The Neverending Story.
Oh, yeah?
He was like, it's my turn. And, man, every time he talks in this movie, it is just a delight. And at one point, like, the apprentice is, like, screwing with him.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, oh, Hodge, you look warm. And then he just waves his hands, And Hodge is like, clothes fly off of his body. And he looks like this like little chicken with no meat on him. Just standing there. And when he dies in this movie, this happens in the beginning of the movie, so it's not really a spoiler. It is like one of the best death scenes ever.
Really?
Because he's just like laying there and he has to like give the apprentice his last words. Okay? And he's like telling him to go to this lake of fire, this burning water. And he's just like, burning water. And he fucking dies. It's amazing, man. Go back and watch it.
Dragonslayer, 1981.
Love it. You'll love it too.
All right, what'd you go see?
What is he? John Wick, Chapter 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's out already, huh?
Oh, yeah, baby.
Shit. I liked the first one.
Me too.
I've seen it like a few times.
Mm-hmm. Rick went to see it too.
Yeah,
Did you like it?
I liked it.
Does Rick like it more than you?
I think he might. You want him to do the recap?
Take us away, Rick.
Okay, so we start out in the city. Everything's really colorful, yeah. And there's a motorcycle.
Do the rest of the recap in that voice, and I'm okay with it.
Did anything happen in the theater?
No.
No.
No! Yeah, I figured I went and saw Jason Bourne with him.
Yeah, he's a super fan of John Wick.
Yes.
Dresses
Yeah.
like him on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And those really shiny suits.
Yeah, and I even stick my 5 o'clock shadow. I add hair to go up to my cheekbones.
Yeah.
So I have the wick.
Yeah.
He saved up for like 5 years so that he could buy one single gold coin, walk around passing it out to people, and then asking for it back.
You want to earn a coin? Does he say that in this?
No.
He doesn't give out coins?
He does, but he doesn't
Okay.
say that.
Says that in the first one. It's fucking fun. You want to earn a coin?
Yeah.
He says that to the dude in the hotel.
Hey, Harry. Hey, Harry. You want to earn a coin? Catch
Gold
and release.
coins are big. They're like the currency in this
The currency of
mobster
assassins.
assassin culture. All right, man.
All right, let's do this, Rick. John Wick, Chapter 2 on Movies with Ron. I'm waiting, Arnold.
Yeah, all right. So I opened up the movie with some of the production cinematics. Can't remember the production company. It's something with a roller coaster. It says production company. And then we're hearing these sounds, yeah? Hearing these sounds, it sounds like an F1 car going through the streets, or like the city streets, you know. And then we get that overhead shot of the buildings, and we're going through them. Yeah. We're going through them like the end credits of the first movie. Yeah. So it's definitely John Wick, you can tell. And then we're sitting there on this boulevard. And this
Hey, I'm going to go get something to eat. See you later.
Okay, I'll see you later. And there's taxi cabs and they're waiting, you know. And then this guy comes flying out through another street and his motorcycle's coming by him and he looks like he fell. But then you can hear this roaring engine coming through and it's 1970 Chevelle. And it looks beautiful. This muscle car, yeah? Muscles. And he sees what's happening. He's like, oh, shit. And he gets up on his motorbike.
Oh, my God.
Gets up on his motorbike and he takes off again, you know. And he's going to the streets. He's zooming, you know, like zooming through and cutting cars off like a bastard, you know. And, you know, sounds like an F1 car. I don't know. It's kind of funny, this sound. You want to take it from there, Ron?
Okay. That was amazing. All right, so that takes care of the first 30 seconds of the movie. We got that shit down. Oh my god.
Fucking 30 seconds.
Yeah, man. That was amazing. Oh my god. So he's in this Chevelle and he's chasing this motorcycle around, okay? Motorcycle's trying to lose him. He ends up cutting through some city streets and then T-boning the motorcycle. The guy falls off. I don't know if he's dead or not, whatever. So John Wick steps out. We still don't see his face. And he's digging through the guy's pockets and he pulls out this gold plate. So then we cut to this weird chop shop operation. And it's like a warehouse full of taxi cabs. And out of the taxi cabs, they're pulling all this money and drugs and guns and shit and gold. And they're taking all this gold and they're like putting it in buckets of tar. Okay? So they're like, yeah, they're laundering money. They're hiding stuff. Okay?
Uh-huh.
So then we see the boss of this operation, and it's Peter Stormare. Okay, and his little lackey is like, "Why do we have to do all of this, sir?" And he's like, "Because my stupid nephew had to kill a dog and steal a car, which is now in our possession." So the guy's like, "Why don't we just eliminate him?" You know? And he's like, "You can't just kill the boogeyman." You know? And all the while, yeah, remember the boogeyman is the street name for John Wick. John Wick is now infiltrating that warehouse. So Peter Stormare's talking. At the same time, we see John Wick like sneaking up on a dude who's lighting a cigar and then like jamming the whole thing down his throat while he's like punching him and stabbing him. Okay. And he's just walking through this warehouse, just kicking all the ass of every goon in the place.
Uh-huh.
Peter Stormare tells a story about how John Wick killed 3 dudes in a bar once with a pencil. And he's like, if anything, these stories that you hear about him, they've all been watered down. And then his phone rings. And he picks it up, hello. And John Wick just goes, you have my car. And then he hangs up. And Peter Stormare's like, the boogeyman. So then it shows John Wick and he finds his car. And he gets in and he's like, holding the steering wheel, and he's like, yeah, okay, I'm back. So then he drives out of the place. He's out in the streets, and then his car gets rammed by 4 different cars, all in succession, on each side of the car.
So it's like a setup.
I guess. But it was like, man, you don't even want the car now. Anyway, then he ends up getting chased by another bike. And, he ends up driving back into the chop shop. Okay, he gets stuck in there because now they're all closing the doors. And he's like swinging the car around, you know, drifting it throughout the warehouse and everything. And he just drifts it right into some dude that was standing there and knocks him clear across the warehouse and into some pillar. It was rough. Right then, his car gets hit by a taxi cab. But now that the door is missing from his car, he just like falls out of it. And the car like flings away. And John Wick just like rolls out of the car and gets up. It's weird. So then he just starts kicking everybody's ass, hand-to-hand style. And John Wick makes karate chops look awesome. He's just like street fighting all of these assholes with karate chops.
Really?
It's beautiful.
Oh, didn't see much of that in the first one.
He only did it for a little while. Like, they did it just like, catch your eye in the beginning. He ends up in a fight with like their big guy, you know? And he's like coming up to get him. He picks him up, throws him down onto the ground, and then John Wick just shoots both of his knees out. He's screaming. And all the while, that Russian guy, Peter Stormare, is like listening to all of the screaming outside of his office. So John Wick like walks in, and he just like walks up to his desk, and he picks up his decanter of vodka, and he like pours 2 shots. And he picks one up, and he hands it to him, and he just goes, peace? And the guy's like, are you even capable of peace? And he was like, why not? And he was like, well, okay then. So yeah, he leaves, and he gets into his car and goes home.
His shitty wrecked car?
Yeah.
Okay.
And at that point, we get the opening credits of the movie, and we see this weird medallion that we didn't get to see in the first one, which is what we learn is a marker, okay? A marker is like, I give it to you, and then I owe you a favor. later. And it's this medallion. If you open it up, there's like a blood thumbprint that I put there of my own blood to say that I owe you a favor.
Oh, okay.
So then it says John Wick, Chapter 2. And it's raining, and he goes home. Goes home to his big, hopelessly amazing mansion from the first movie. And the dog from the first movie, the end, he's big now.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, boy, come on. And he just goes and he gets in bed. And he's just like still completely depressed about his wife. He's like looking out the window. He's like looking at her picture. And he just like wants to start crying. So then the next day, a wrecker drives up to his house, and it's John Leguizamo, the chop shop guy from the first movie.
Yeah.
And he's listing off all the stuff. He's like, what do you think? And John Leguizamo's like, I think it's screwed, man. Look at all this stuff. This is wrong. This is broken. This is broken. Yeah, I can fix it. He's like, yeah, thanks for finding her. He's like, yeah, no problem, man. So then he goes back into his basement. If you remember from the first movie, he had to bust through the concrete foundation to dig up his gold and his guns to go to Wick. Now we get a sequence of him putting it all back. Okay, he like packs the guns in and the gold, and he like mixes up some cement. He's like troweling it. And then his doorbell rings. And there's like the slickest Italian assassin you ever seen. His name's Santino. And he's like, hey, John, can I come in? He's like, yeah, come on in. He's like, listen, John, I don't want to be here. But, no one gets out and comes back without repercussions. And he's like, don't do this, man. Don't do this. And he's like, no, I have to do it, man. You owe me. And he holds up his marker. Now remember, John Wick got out of the killing game sometime before the first movie, and we learned that him giving Santino this marker is what got him out.
Yeah.
Okay? Somehow. It's what allowed him to retire. So he's basically telling him, yeah, you're going to help me. Uh-huh. And John's like, I can't help you. I can't help you, man. I'm not going to do it. And then the guy's like, oh, well, I guess you are not the same John Wick. And he's like, John, you have a beautiful home here. Really, you do. Okay, buonasera. And he leaves. He opens the door and you see his goons outside, and there's this little short-haired chick who's like really mean looking. She's like his little second in command. So they all just leave. And then Santino goes to the back of his van, I guess his soccer mom minivan, and pulls out big old grenade launcher. And then he just starts firing grenades into John Wick's house.
Oh, jeez.
And the whole thing just burns to the ground. John Wick, he escapes it with his dog, but he's like looking in the fire and he sees all the pictures of his wife burning to cinders.
Uh-huh.
So then that cop, who's like, you working again, John? He's like, hey, John, what happened here? Gas leak? He's like, yeah, gas leak. So then John's got to walk all the way to New York City. New York City? And he goes to the hotel, the Continental, okay? And he's at the concierge, and he's got his dog with him. And that guy's like, oh, Mr. Wick. How wonderful to see you again. And he's like, yeah, I need to talk to the manager. He's like, yeah, okay, he's in, he's over there. And he just looks at his dog and goes, stay. And the dog just sits there. So then he goes out, and the manager, Winston, okay, Ian McShane.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, man.
Ian McShane.
He's
Holy
meeting.
shit.
He's meeting with the guy who makes the gold coins. And he's like looking over the shipment that he's just brought him. And he's like, impeccable. Put these into circulation. John. And he comes over. He's like, yeah, my house burned down, man. He's like, yeah, he's got a marker of yours. It's like, yeah, he totally does. Well, there's two rules in this world that we're in. One is no violence on continental grounds, and the other is all markers must be honored. He's like, yeah. He's like, just do what he asks. It's no big deal. If he's got a marker of yours, and you kill him, you die. All right? But if you do what he says, all bets are off.
You're free.
Yeah, basically. If you do what he wants, then you can kill him.
Yeah.
So he goes back to the concierge, and he's like, hey, man, do you board dogs? And the guy's like, no, but for you, I will. He's like, all right. And he just looks at his dog, and he's like, stay. And he just leaves. So he goes to the museum, the City Museum, okay? Which is Santino's hideout, I guess. I don't, it's where he always is. It's weird.
Oh, okay.
And Santino's like, oh, so, you want to kill me? I can see your wheels turning. You're looking at the exits? It's not going to happen, baby. He's like, just tell me what you want. Kill my sister. And it turns out that his sister is one of 12 seats on what is called the high table. And the high table is what, calls all the shots in the assassin world, I guess.
Yeah.
In organized crime. He's like, she's in Rome. Go and do it. He's like, dude, I can't do that. It can't be done. He's like, that's why I need the boogeyman. That's why I'm calling in the marker, man. So he's like, fine. And then he goes to some Hasidic Jew bank and goes and he opens this box. And you're like, oh, it's going to be full of guns. It's going to be full of guns and gold and stuff. And it's like, got his clothes in it. So he puts on his clothes and he goes to Rome. And they're like, happy hunting, Mr. Wick. And he's like, yeah, whatever. He's all pissed off that he has to do this. So he goes to Rome. And then that short-haired chick is like watching him. And he goes into the Continental of Rome. And there is another smooth-talking old manager guy. But he's like, Italian. Mr. Wick.
Are you here to kill the Pope?
Yeah. He was like, just tell me one thing. Are you here for the Pope? And he's like, no. And the guy's like, well, okay then. Enjoy your stay. So then he goes, we get this cool sequence of him getting outfitted for his mission. And he goes to the concierge and he's like, is the sommelier in? And the sommelier, do you guys know what a sommelier is?
No.
It's like a wine connoisseur expert. All right.
Okay.
So he goes into the wine shop of the hotel. The sommelier is played by the dude who did the voice of Darth Maul and was the older shitty roommate in Shaun of the Dead.
Peter Serafinowicz.
Yeah.
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 And he's like, Mr. Wick.
Another fucking voice.
Yeah. And he's like, I'd like a tasting. Oh, what did you have in mind? And then it's all about guns. Okay. It's not about wine.
All right.
He's like, let me show you what we got here. Arnold, tell us what he showed him.
Okay, so he breaks out a couple of guns, He's talking about some of the more of the. I know you like some of these German guns, right? But then he leans more towards nowadays we're using these Austrian guns, and I agree, they're good. So I lays them out on the table, and he's like, it's got a flared magwell and all that, and he does all the cool movie stuff, talking about this, and people don't really know, But it's cool, it's definitely a John Wick movie. And then Wick is asking about, he needs some kind of meat and potatoes, and he brings out this IR-15. He's telling him all about it. He's like, he's got this iron bore and all this crazy stuff. It's really expensive gun. You could probably use it really good, And the whole time, John Wick's, he's testing it out, he's trying it on, and he's doing all these tactical moves right in front of him. He's like, yeah, I like it. And then Wick is talking about, okay, what if I want to get big and bold, what if I want to make a statement? And Serafinowicz, he goes, I tell you what, you need to get this shotgun. It's like a super shotgun. They call this Benelli. And he pulls out this shotgun, and it's got this, it's like a shotgun, but it's like, anyway, it's like a super shotgun. Yeah, and he's trying it on, and he's holding it up, he's pulling the trigger, and he keeps on cocking it and doing all he's checking it out, yeah. And then Wiki, he's talking about,
dessert.
I need one more thing. What about dessert? What can I have for dessert? Serafino is, he gets this look on his face and he goes, okay, hold on 1 second. And pulls out this box of knives. and that's it. That's pretty much all the weaponry.
Thank you.
He was losing it at the end there.
Yeah.
Fucking stitched that together.
That was fucking...
I thought it was beautiful.
All right.
Like the impression was
Keep us
slipping.
going. Keep us going.
So there's the weapons. All right, now at the same time he needs clothing. So he goes to the tailor and he's like, I need a suit. And the guy's like, oh, is it a formal affair or social? And he's like, social. And he's like, okay, is it day or night? I'll need one for day and one for night. It's like, okay. And then, he's like, double-breasted? Double. How many buttons? 2. And what about the lining? And then there's that big moment from the preview and he just goes, tactical. So then the tailor is like, yeah, we can totally do that. I got this bulletproof fabric, okay, that's not real. But I sew it into all my suits, and you'll have 0 penetration, sir. It'll be between the fabric and the lining. But here's the thing. It's quite painful when you get shot. He's like, yeah, it's fine. He had also talked to this dude that was, giving him, old plans from, the city office of Rome that had, the blueprints of all the old catacombs and everything underneath it. And the ruins in which this party is taking place that he's going to go and meet this lady, the guy's sister. And he gives him some, old-timey keys that he pulled out of, some old storage. So then we get a sequence of him, strapping all of this ammo to himself. Okay, and he puts on his suit. Then he goes and he's using the keys. He's walking through the catacombs underneath Rome. Now, above him, there is, an electro concert going on where this huge... super rich mobster party is happening, and there's this lady, the guy's sister, her name is Jana. She's walking around, she's in control of all of this huge mob, okay? And she has this personal bodyguard who's another assassin named Cassian, and he's played by Common, okay? And he did great in this movie, dude. He was a really great adversary for John Wick. So Jana goes and meets with this other mobster who's like, yeah, you moved into my territory, and she's like, sorry, man, you know what? Screw you. I control everything. And she looks at Common and she's like, why don't you go and entertain our guests while I freshen up? So then she goes into her bathroom. Now, John Wick had been in the catacombs and he was walking through these catacombs and setting down his shotgun and then walking over here and setting down his AR. And you're like, why is he doing that? He's just he's just here to kill this lady, right? Uh-huh. So then she goes into her bathroom and she's doing her makeup in the mirror, and then John Wick is behind her. And she's like, oh, shit. Because he's the angel of death. All right? She knows she's about to die. And she's pissed off about it. And she's like, we used to be friends, man. And he's like, we still are. And she's like, why? Why are you here to kill me? And he's like, someone's got a marker. And she's like, oh, who is it? Your brother. So then she's pissed off because she's like, he's going to screw everything up, man. And just so you know, he's going to take my seat at the high table, and then he's going to go to New York, and he's going to take New York, and you're the one who's going to be giving it to him. And he's like, I got to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Then she starts screwing with him, and she's like, yeah, what's the name of that girl, that you ended up giving him the marker over? And, talking about his dead wife. He's like, he bristles up and he's like, Helen. And she's like, is she worth this? Is she worth what you're doing right now? And he's like, yup. He doesn't say anything, but I wanted him to. And then this lady just gets naked. Okay? And she's got this big, beautiful marble bathtub.
I thought that was going a different direction.
She's got this beautiful fucking tits. I don't know if we really saw her boobs. Anyway, she gets into the bathtub and she's talking to him. She pulls her hairpins out and she's like, what would Helen think of this? And John Wick is just like, oh, God. He's all conflicted. Then she just uses her razor-sharp hairpin and slits her own wrists. And he's like, why? And she's like, I always lived how I wanted. Now I'm going to die how I want. And he's like, whoa. And you as the moviegoer are like, well, this was easy. So then he like sits down on the edge of the bath and he holds her hand while she dies. And it's like really sad. Okay. And it really makes you hate her brother. And then he just like stands up and puts one in her fucking head anyway. For real.
Okay.
Just to make sure. So then he's leaving the party and he's like all like forlorn looking. And then he passes Common, who goes like, John? And he's like, yeah. Hey, man. And he's like, are you working? He's like, yup. You? Yeah, I'm working. Has it been a good night for you? Afraid so. And then Common's just like, you motherfucker.
Oh, shit.
And then they just start shooting at each other.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And they shoot the hell out of each other. And they're both wearing bulletproof suits.
Oh.
Okay, so they're both like falling on the ground. Like they've been shot. Each one of them shoots the other like 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
You know? And they are like 3 feet away from each other. It was pretty hardcore.
The movie makes bulletproof suits cool looking, you know?
Oh, yeah. They look like suits, man.
They're just suits.
They're just lined with the bulletproof stuff.
All right.
Yeah. Very cool. I liked it.
So then all the bodyguards start shooting at John Wick, and he's got to start killing them. Then there's this whole crowd that's there for the concert and the party, and they're all just like running around in the background. And, he kills all these goons, and then he escapes down into the catacombs. Then he runs into that short-haired chick, and she's just standing there looking at him. She's got a bunch of goons behind her. And he looks at her, and he's like, ugh. And he goes, loose ends? And she uses sign language. I guess she's deaf. She just goes, just one. And then they all start shooting at John. So he's got to run. So he runs, and he goes and he picks up the AR that he left. So he was like planning for this.
Yeah.
And then he has to kill all of those goons.
So the girl trying to kill him, now he knows Santino wants him dead?
Right.
Okay.
So all those goons are coming for him, and there's all this really great gunplay. He ends up, running out in the AR, and he turns to the shotgun. And at one point, he empties it, okay? But he still has this one guy in front of him, and he just, hits him with it and holds the guy down against the wall with the shotgun, with the point of the shotgun. He's, stabbing him with it almost.
Yeah.
But he's, holding him down while he's loading the shotgun and then shoots it. It was beautiful. So he's fighting his way through these catacombs, and the short-haired chick is just, looking at all the bodies because there's hundreds of them. And then John Wick escapes out into the streets, and he's like, beat to shit. He's just, walking through the streets real slow, going back to the hotel. Okay, everything's going to be fine now. I escaped. And then he gets hit by a car. And then Common gets out. And he's like, yep, let's do this. So then they start rolling around, fighting, punching each other, kicking each other. This was such a beautiful fight between these two. Chris, it reminded me of the fight in They Live.
Oh, yeah?
Between Roddy Piper and...
Keith David?
Yeah. They ended up rolling down stairs. A lot of stairs. Okay? They roll down these stairs, and then they're laying on the ground. Oh my God. And then they just get up and start fighting again. Okay? Common's got a knife. John has his gun in his hand, and he's trying to shoot him. Common keeps deflecting it. It's beautiful. Beautifully choreographed. So they're fighting, and they end up crashing through a window. And it turns out that they crashed through the window of the Continental Hotel. So now they can't fight anymore. And that the old Italian manager,
That's cool.
Julian, is like, gentlemen. So he scolds them, and they're just yeah, he started it. And then he's like, I suggest a visit to the bar to calm yourselves. So then John Wick just looks at Common, and he's like, gin, was it? He's like, yeah, right. Let's do it. They go and they sit down at the bar together, and they're having drinks. So Common's like, what the fuck, man? And John's like, I had a marker, all right? I had to do it. Whose was it? Her brother's. Oh, he wants her seat at the table. Yeah. Well, he's got it now. He's like, yeah, I guess so. So, are we good? And Common's like, no. Man, I am going to kill your ass. It's like, you killed my ward, man. My responsibility, and I was close with her. But I'll do you a favor. As a professional courtesy, I'll make it quick. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll try to do the same for you. So then Cassian leaves. And then behind him, in the bar, is the short-haired girl.
Yeah.
And she signs at John. She's like, be seeing you. And he just, like, signs back at her. And he's like, not if I see you first. Then his phone rings. He answers, and it's Santino. He's like, yeah, hey, John. Okay, so you did it. You killed her. That's cool. But I just, I understand you're probably taking it personal, that, my guys are trying to kill you. But I just wanted to say, what kind of a man would I be if I didn't avenge my sister's murder? And then John just hangs up the phone. Hangs up on him. And he goes to the concierge and he's like, he calls him. He's like, let him know I'm checking out in the morning. And now Santino is like looking at his phone and he's like, this is probably not good. So he gets scared. Santino opens up a contract on John Wick. For $7 million. Because he knows he's coming. So every assassin in the city of New York gets a text message saying, yo, $7 million for John Wick. So Santino is talking to the manager of the New York Continental, Winston. And Winston's like, you're fucked. He's not going to be okay with any of this. He's coming for you. Okay, so it was nice knowing you. And now we get the sequence of all the assassins in the streets that are getting the text messages. And one of them is like, a violinist on the street. And the other is like, a sumo wrestler. Like, in normal clothes out on the street.
Yeah.
And John Wick is just like walking through the streets, like going to find Santino. And he keeps getting attacked by all these other assassins. All right? And he has to fight him and kill him. And he has to fight this sumo dude. And he gets rocked by him at first. And then he pulls out his handgun and he's just like shooting this guy point blank with it. And the guy's like, not going down.
Yeah.
And he's like up on his back, shooting bullets into the side of this sumo wrestler who is just like still throwing him around. He actually ends up taking his gun and shooting it straight down into this guy's head. Okay? And then the guy goes down. And then John's walking away, and then he hears, and he turns around, and the guy's getting up. And then he just, like, shoots him in the face. So then there's these two guys with scorpion tattoos that are attacking him in some cafe, and he kills them with a pencil. And it is beautiful.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. Right through the eye. Through the whole brain. I don't know. It's amazing. Kills both of them with the same pencil.
Did he, like, have the pencil on him?
Nah, he, like, picked it up off the bar.
The original John Wick had a fragile coolness to it. It was fragile. Seems like they're adding stuff that could tilt it over, If you're going to make sequels, you got to be careful how you up the stakes before John Wick could very easily be stupid. Like, I could very easily turn it off. That's what I think about John Wick. Like, they're adding new stuff to it, it seems.
Like beefing it up.
Yeah. Part of it going into fantasy. I mean, he's shooting a sumo wrestler in the head.
Yeah, man.
He's got bulletproof suits.
Is
John Wick 2 getting stupid?
No, in no way.
No.
That's what I'm scared of.
You would not turn it off.
All right.
They definitely upped the ante with this one. Okay, number one, we get some cool extras, like thrown in is the markers. Okay, we didn't hear about that in the first movie. We got the bulletproof suits. We also got, I think, a better caliber of supporting cast in this one.
Yeah.
Like, I loved Common in this movie, man, for real. He was great. Speaking of Common, after he kills this sumo wrestler and these violinists and these dudes with the pencil, he's then walking past a fountain in the middle of the streets, okay? And it's one of those fountains that turns on and off. And as the water goes down, Common is on the other side of the fountain looking at him. So he's like, oh, man. And then the water goes up, and then him and Common just start shooting at each other through the water. And they cannot see through it, all right? and there are many people around them.
Getting shot.
They didn't show it, but I was like, how could that not be happening? Okay, their guns are also completely suppressed, all right? Very, very suppressed, as you'll find out in a minute. So they end up in some subway station, okay? And Wick he's trying to get away from Common. Common is up on a catwalk, walking with a bunch of people in the subway station, and then down below him is John Wick, walking with a bunch of people in the subway station. And it's totally quiet, everybody's just walking. And then Common and John Wick start shooting at each other, like pew 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 pew, pew 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 pew, and no one notices. It was the coolest sequence, man.
Really?
Yeah, because it's just like tink 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 every time their gun goes off, you know.
But you like this because this is more fantasy.
This was great.
All right.
I loved it. Now remember, the whole time this is happening, there's other assassins that all want John Wick. Okay, so like while Common is catching up to him because he has to go find some stairs.
Yeah.
Okay. John Wick is like waiting for a train or something like that, and then some other dude attacks him. Okay, while Common is on his way to him, and he ends up in a scuffle with him and stabs him right in his dick. Okay, and all of this blood splashes down. It was rough. So then Common catches up, and they board a train. Okay, they're on either side of the tracks, but they both get on the same train, which is now completely full of people. So they have to just stand there, staring at each other. And there's all these people, and they like wait through a couple of stops. And the movie takes us through that.
Yeah.
All right? Waiting through train stops. Finally, we get to a stop where pretty much everybody gets off of the train. Okay? The doors close, and Common and John are just like looking at each other, and they're staring at each other. And then they both just pull out their knives. There are still a few people on the train, like on the sides of the car, and John and Common just start fighting. And all these people are just like, watching them. And it's another badass fight between these two, and like they are pretty evenly matched. I loved it. Somebody loses one of their knives, and then eventually John Wick gets the upper hand, and like he gets the knife, and he's got the tip of it planted right onto Common's chest. And Common is like holding his arm back from stabbing him. And then John Wick just like slams his other hand into it and drives it right into him. And he sits him down because Common is like, okay. And John sits him down and he just leans down to him and he goes, "The blade is in your aorta. If you pull it out, you will bleed and you will die. Just as a professional courtesy." And then he walks out, and Common is just like sitting on the train with a knife sticking out of him, just like staring at John Wick as he walks away. Then he's getting chased by two other assassins, okay? And he's running, and then he sees this homeless dude who's just like sitting in his train station, just like with all of his garbage and his, his blankets and his shopping cart. And he's got a cup, for change. John Wick just walks up and drops a gold coin into it. The guy like looks at it. And then John goes, "Take me to him. Tell him it's John Wick." And then he like lays down next to the homeless dude. And the homeless guy just like covers him in blankets. And the two guys that were chasing him come by. And the homeless guy goes like, "Oh, excuse me, sir, do you have some change?" And then he pulls a pistol out and just shoots them both like lightning quick. Oh. And he's got two other homeless buddies that just come over and drag the bodies away. And then John Wick wakes up in like a hospital bed. And he's bandaged. He's going to be okay. So he leaves the bed and he's in a homeless shelter, okay? And the homeless guy that was helping him, he's taking him to see this ominous figure that we're about to meet, right?
Yeah.
Takes him outside to like a pigeon coop, and there's this guy out there like feeding the pigeons. And he turns around, and it's Morpheus. It's Lawrence Fishburne.
All right.
Together again with Keanu Reeves. And he's like, "Yeah, Mr. Wick doesn't know it, but we met once before." And he's like, "Yeah, he found me in an alley when I was young in this game." And apparently John Wick stabbed him in the throat. Okay?
Yeah.
And by doing that, gave Lawrence Fishburne a choice between shooting John Wick in the back as he was walking away and then bleeding to death, or keeping pressure on his neck and living, which is what he chose to do.
Uh-huh.
Then he became like a mobster king in his part of town, I guess. So now he's like running things. And he's got this weird operation where all of his assassins and all of his goons pretend to be homeless people. And he walks them into a locker room where he takes off all of his dirty homeless clothes and he like hangs them up and he puts on a silk robe.
Yeah.
And then he walks him into his nice mahogany office. Okay. And he's like, you got eyes everywhere. You know, on every street corner begging for change. I need you to move me underground, okay? I need you to find me Santino. And he's like, yeah, man, well, you know I could make $7 million from just killing you right now. He's like, nah, you'll help me, because I'm the only one that can help you. And he's like, you know, you can kill me, but then Santino's going to take over New York. Or I can kill Santino, and the high table will only come after me, because if you kill him, they'll come after you. He's like, so do you want a war or do you want to just give me a gun? And then Lawrence Fishburne goes, somebody please get this man a gun. So he gives him a pistol, gives him this little gun with 7 rounds in it. He's like, that's all you get. He's like, 7 rounds? He's like, yeah, that's $1 million a round, baby. So, you know, good luck. He's like, and you owe me. And then John turns around and goes, you don't want me owing you. So then John goes into the museum where there is another party happening, and he ends up face to face with Santino right in the middle of the party, and they're just staring at each other for a while. And then once the action starts, John just immediately goes through his 7 rounds on thugs. He just shoots 7 thugs, like right away.
Yeah.
Okay, and Santino runs away. So now we get the second big gauntlet of him just putting down hundreds of goons throughout the museum, okay? And he's stabbing them, he's killing them, shooting them, and he ends up following Santino into this exhibit called Reflections of the Soul, which is nothing but mirrors everywhere. All right, and he's looking for Santino. Santino's taunting him, you know, and then the short-haired chick shows up with some more goons who John has to fight and kill. And the short-haired chick gets Santino out of the exhibit, and then she signs to him. She's like, go, get safe. I'm going to take care of him. So now we're about to see like how badass she is. Uh-huh. And she pulls out her little knife where the blade, when you hold it by the handle, the blade just comes out between your 2 middle fingers. So it's a stabbing punch knife.
Yeah.
All right. She goes in, she gets into a real quick fight with John Wick, and he ends up stab punching her right in the heart with her own knife. Okay? And she's like sitting on the ground dying. Like, she sucked. Okay? She was a waste of money for Santino, turns out. And then she signs at John Wick, be seeing you. And then he just goes, yeah, sure. And he leaves her to die. So Santino, knowing that he is totally screwed, runs to the Continental, where he can't be hurt, right? So in the Continental, Santino's talking to Winston, and he's like, I want his membership revoked. And he's like, you demand nothing from me. This is my kingdom. Okay, so fuck you. And then John shows up, and he's got his gun in his hand. And Santino is sitting down, like, eating, and he looks up at John, and he's like, John, have you seen the menu here? It's really extensive. You know, a guy could stay here for an awful long time and never eat the same thing twice. And then John is just like, standing there with his gun, standing there. And Winston is like, oh, shit. And he looks, John, no, put the gun down. Just walk away, John. Just walk away. And then Santino looks up at John and goes, yeah, John. Just walk. Boom! He gets shot in the face.
Fuck yeah. Oh, shit.
And then Winston looks at John and just goes, oh, John. What have you done? And John goes, I finished it. And then John goes and picks up his dog from the concierge.
Yeah.
And he's like, was he any trouble? And he's like, no, he was a very good dog. I enjoyed his company. So then he leaves and he goes back to his burnt out home and he's like digging through the ashes and he finds like his wife's necklace or something like that. And he turns around and the concierge has driven to his house and he's like, Mr. Wick, if you please. And he has to go with him. So then he drives him to like some some park, okay? And he gets out of the car and he's talking to John Wick and he's like, Mr. Wick, it has been a pleasure. And he points, telling him where to go, and then he goes, goodbye, Mr. Wick. Like, it's final now, okay? Like, you are about to go and be killed for what you've done.
Yeah.
Or something like that, right? So John and his dog, they walk into the park, and there's Winston sitting on the edge of a fountain, waiting for him. And he's like, yeah, you know, the high table, they've doubled the contract on you. And it's now gone international. Everyone in the world is going to want to kill you. And also, because of what you've done, I am left with no choice but to excommunicate you from the Continental. So you're not going to receive any more help from us in 1 hour, okay? You have 1 hour, and then you are on your own. And John Wick's like, yeah, well, then why am I not dead already? And then Winston goes, because I have deemed it so. So then he motions towards one of his goons, and his goon gets onto his cell phone and just goes, now. And then the hundreds of people that are like walking through the park, they all just stop. And then they turn and look at John. Like all of them are assassins. Okay? That are there like wanting John Wick. Okay? And they know that they can't kill him for 1 hour. So then all of his old friends like John Leguizamo and, the tailor and everybody, they all get the same text message that John Wick is excommunicado now, so you're not allowed to help him. And so he's like walking through the streets with his dog, and he's like walking, and like all these people, they keep looking up from their phones and then looking at him and watching him walk by. And he like starts to get like maybe a little paranoid, so he starts running, okay? And he runs, and he's running, and then he keeps looking at everybody, and everybody's just like turning and looking at him. And then he just like starts running. And he runs off into the city night, and the credits roll.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's it. Damn.
Now, he did say to Winston, he had some last words where he was like, tell him, Winston, to whoever comes after me, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill every last one of them. But it was like, it wasn't very powerful.
Yeah.
I think him running off into the city night was way more powerful.
Yeah, that's a good ending. Well, good job, man.
Thanks, man. What'd you think, Arnold?
I thought it was pretty good, yeah. It's John Wick. It's not as good as Terminator or Commando, but it's John Wick. I like it.
He sounds like the junkyard guy from episode 1.
Oh, God, yeah, I do. Yeah, Nubian.
Watto.
Yeah.
Well, when I try to do Arnold, I don't try to do his... Everybody does his... guy! They do that constantly.
You do that pretty good, though.
But he is a normal guy when he talks. Yeah, it's going down, they're lifting the weights. All the action in this film was beautifully choreographed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, it was like a treat.
Seems like it's trying to bend reality a little bit. More than the first one.
You'd have to see it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was expecting more Peter Stormare, but I guess he'll be back for the third one.
I was expecting more of him, too. When I first saw him, I was like, oh, sweet. All right. He'll be a good bad guy for this one. But nope.
Oh, God. The stabbing in the dick. It is hard to explain how that looked. Because there was some choreographed stuff going on where the guy was like, his back was towards Wick.
John Wick was behind him, like on his knees. The guy was standing up in front of him, facing away from him with his legs spread.
Yeah.
So John Wick just like, sucker cut him in the balls.
It's like reached up, put it in front of him, and then yanked it back.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was people in the theater. Everybody just went, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. If he wasn't dead.
He's dead.
Folks, get on that app, that iTunes, leave us a rating, a review. We love the reviews so far. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, guys, keep them coming.
Look us up on Twitter and Instagram, at Movies with Ron. We got a Facebook group. All right, it's been fun.
All right, love you guys.
Take care. I'll be back.
Movies with Ron.
I'm all fucked up now.
I'm all fucked up. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.